Welcome back. Think Strong Pod.
Back once again.
Starting to feel ever so comfortable in these chairs now.
Yeah, the whole studio, the setup just complements smashing out episodes. I like it.
Not sure where we are, episode, but who cares? But we know that people are watching and listening, which is good. So thanks for tuning in so far.
Thanks for the support. Keep it coming. Keep sharing.
Yeah.
As of recording, we've got 2 episodes out, haven't we?
Yeah.
One are We're So Back, and then our second one with Mr. Jack Forrester, which listened to that myself as a complete, as a fan almost, without tooting our own horn too much, but thought it was good.
Yeah, I had some great feedback on that already, which has been nice. A little bit of a change from our monotone voices, as we've discussed before.
Yeah, it seems to be going down well.
Please keep listening.
Yeah.
Today we're going to follow on a little bit from a topic that we discussed with Jack as well. I'm just going to pose a question to you to begin with. What do people actually need inside their fitness journey, so to speak? Looking at general population that might have a specific goal of some sort, but more of a rounded question.
Yeah, so when you look at Gen Pop, I think at the top of that hierarchy has to be resistance weight training in some form. We could go down the route of saying, you could do all these things to make it optimal. Does it need to be optimal if you are doing that? Probably not. You need something that's probably going to offset aging as best as possible. Keep you strong, keep you supple for life. As we know, strength training will also keep you supple as well. Mm-hmm. Something that's going to tick that box and it's going to fit with your lifestyle. Then when you go into the more aerobic side of things, yes, important to have something in there again, but you could probably go further down the route of something you maybe enjoy to do as well, rather than being pinned into the 4 walls of the gym if you didn't want to be. So realistically, the scope is pretty broad if you look at it like that. But we know as trainers, there's probably ways that you could get the absolute most out of doing the absolute least by focusing on certain movements and structuring those sessions in a certain way. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's all good, and we're on the same page with that stuff. I was watching a video earlier that's quite funny. You know, the functional movement patterns.
Yeah.
Guys, they're getting a lot of stick at the minute. Obviously, there you've touched on all the different areas that would be good to have inside a program for anyone. There was a guy digging them out because they're kind of demonizing the back squat and the deadlift, saying that you don't need that, or it wouldn't make you a faster athlete, so to speak, or a faster individual. Say if that Gen Pop person's playing tennis, they're playing football, rugby, whatever it might be. But then there's a 10-month controlled study done, and they split them into 4 different groups. One group all 4 groups played soccer, football. Just get that one in there.
As it's known in the first
world. All played football. One group added in squats and deadlifts, normal weight training. I believe it was 4 times a week on top of their normal schedule. The other group just did sprinting. One group did nothing, and then the other group did what the functional patterns guys would want them to do. I think he alluded to him as being an elastic short man with a little man syndrome or something like that.
Elastic short man.
Yeah. The guy that was digging him out in the video is quite funny. But anyway, after the 10 months, obviously it was a controlled trial and they all just stuck to whatever they did. They retested sprint speed. They did 2 other tests. Sprint speed, vertical jump, and there was one other test. And lo and behold, obviously the group that were strength and weight training had the most biggest benefit and higher jump and sprint speed. And then their group was joint with the group that did nothing basically, and nothing happened at all. And it just goes to show that people are like trying to pigeonhole and like fearmonger people so badly into positions they don't want to get into, when we know that a well-rounded approach is best.
Yeah, for general pop and for sport at like no matter what level, and it's probably the lowest hanging fruit as well when it comes to even something where you need to be explosive, like any of the sports you just mentioned. People forget that like power is strength times speed, and you know, aside from obviously doing speed drills and stuff like that, how are you going to improve your strength? It's actually pretty easy. You do a deadlift and add a kilo every week, like in its most basic form.
Yeah.
You can see massive results from that perspective, and that's just going to multiply your results, or in this case, your power by so much more. And you know, fear mongering around that. It's almost like we're just running out of things to talk about in like the fitness industry, or those people are. So they have to just start demonizing stuff. They're just like running through the list, and they're like, oh, no, what we're gonna pull off the effective movement list now.
Yeah.
It's like it has to be deadlifts, has to be squats now, because we've run out of everything else.
It's just like they'll move on to whatever thing next, right? Like in lockdown, COVID times, all that you could do was either walk or run, which was fine at the time. Running, yeah, great, go out there and get running. And then like a year later, oh no, it's terrible for your joints, don't do that, blah blah blah. Why not have that as a single dose in your week with a well-rounded program? I
think Angus Bradley from the GPP stuff, he does a good job of calling people out on that as well. Like how, like even your favorite athletes like Usain Bolt is always posting clips of him just like thrashing a leg extension, just moving terribly, like just to say that it's not optimal. Like even the way these top athletes train, some of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like people obsessing over optimizing things is quite hilarious when a lot of the time those people have never even competed in the sports that they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're using these people as examples who don't train optimally in any way.
Yeah, you got like people that want to do a leg extension in the most optimal way and line like all the muscle fibers up in the right direction. Yeah, if you're a bodybuilder, great, but if you're Gen Pop and you got a PT telling you to do that, just tell them to shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? They're going to have more benefit moving slightly suboptimally from what they're creating as in this like fucking Houdini, what it should look like on a perfect picture, and just do the leg extension with a bit more weight, with slightly suboptimal form. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, and what is suboptimal? It's like, it's that person's perspective of what it should look like in their head.
Yeah.
When everyone's going to be slightly different.
That's the thing. When you talk about compensation with like other muscle groups as well, if you're using the leg extension as an example, like if the goal is for a certain set to take it to failure, what is wrong with gripping the handles and leaning forwards and maybe using different parts of your body to take your quads to that place which they probably wouldn't have been to had you not have done that? Yeah. You're getting more volume in at the legitimate failure, even past failure. So potentially more beneficial for your actual goal that you've stated.
Yeah.
When you look at it like that, so it kind of it contradicts itself sometimes, doesn't it? It does kind of does the work for us.
Yeah, and I think it's good. Like we can link back to what Jack did say a little bit and how things look different for each person that you're like coaching and whatever. And like you said, the functional movement pattern, they have this like such a dogmatic approach to everything. It's like, this is the way that you should do it. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Like every person that comes to you needs something slightly different as well. So someone might need more of that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If they're functioning like really, really badly, but you take all strength work out of their program, that's just so negligent to that person. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think we've seen it before. We know some people from back home as well that let's go down this route. Let's go down the movement assessment route as well. Yeah. So in my eyes and in your eyes, I believe the movement assessment should be done if needed with a certain person. So you can see where someone's at and you use that as a tool to build on top of and put into someone's program, and you just give them good training, and then that leads them to a better pathway to their result. Not it's like identify every crisis within that person's like makeup, and then just for the first 6 weeks of their program, we're going to do correctional work.
Yeah.
It's like that person can still move. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a general population client, in my eyes, if you put them through all the basic fundamental movement patterns in that first session, that will teach you more than doing some stupid Faber test or seeing how far their thoracic spine will rotate. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just watch them train.
Yeah.
And that will tell you like a pretty clear story of what they need.
It's like getting obsessed with like the wrong side of the spectrum, or the inputs more than the actual outcome or training goal that you're trying to work towards. If you want to get someone moving better, maybe get them moving first and then see what you need to do to build upon that, rather than obsessing over like your testing metrics and that becoming a skill or a goal within itself to improve your performance on your movement test.
Yeah.
It's not really the goal,
most of the time those movement assessments are just like the PT just trying to look like a complete bell end and thinking like, oh, look at me, I know what I'm testing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, that person, that's their first session they've paid you for. You're just wasting their time.
Yeah.
Like they've paid you to get them a result, and you're just like, fair enough if they're like a top level athlete and you want to do a movement assessment and testing. Do you know what I mean? That you can build on.
Yeah.
But for someone general population, and that's like where you have to push and pull that lever of like, this person needs that, and be able to actually have the mind to think, okay, this is what that person actually needs, instead of that PT that's just like, no matter who comes to me, you're doing the same movement assessment.
Yeah.
It's like, you just wasted that person's hour.
Yeah.
They might not want to come back.
Yeah, that's very true. And to be fair, like thinking what you said there about testing specifically, that's another one. But you see people sometimes expect it when they come on board, like with myself. They're like, oh, we're going to do like a week of 1 rep maxes. I'm like, I know that you've got technical errors across X, Y, and Z. Why would I go and get you to max out on those straight away when we could have 6 weeks of really good training addressing those weaknesses, which are, those errors are showing up at 60-70% of your lift? Why would we not address those for 6 weeks and make real improvements on them before we start building to heavies and then seeing where we're at? Like, yeah, absolutely, having some benchmarks to work off and data to work off is like something I do all the time, but it doesn't necessarily need to be step one from minute go. Is have this data from things that we could potentially be improving from the get-go without needing to put yourself into this depleted state before we even start training. Yeah,
like you said, getting someone into their first week of training, and you as a coach being able to see all the videos that they've sent you through, and they're working at, like you said, lower percentage work, is going to be far more beneficial for you to see how they actually move when they start to break down, whether that's within a workout time domain, whether that's like how they improve between their first set, second set, third set, like their movement quality, how load creates better movement pattern for them. Or like if they can't move their body in space with no load, but then they start, it's like the typical rugby player, you ask him to do an air squat, he's going to bend forward and look horrible. You put 100 kilos on his back, he's like straight up and down, beautiful. Do you know what I mean? It's like, in the old squat university days, maybe, you should have your toes pointed forward in your squat. And like he always says, you should be able to do like a bodyweight squat with your toes pointed forward. But now he's retracted a lot on that statement and said, ideally, that's what you should look like when you have no load on the body. And then he's like, but you wouldn't squat that with a bar on your back. Like you have your toes slightly turned out. You're thinking about how to manage the load better. And that's interesting to see where that's gone as well. But people are still stuck in that mind frame. Yeah,
that's very true. And yeah, like you're saying, how it would change with a bit of load on them, but also how it would change between week 1 and week 2 with like one cue. And like, or, you know, something which could be a really low hanging fruit.
You mean actually coaching them?
Yeah, weird. It works for some reason. But yeah, you know, you don't have to go ahead and build to a 1 rep max and commit the same error you've been committing all the time. If there's a cue that might change things drastically and allow you to accumulate really good quality training for a long period, for a medium period of time before you go into then build into that, there can be massive differences with just a cue. Like, you know yourself, because you're coaching all the time, like the lift classes, ollie lifting, it can make a massive difference by saying something like stay on flat feet until you fully extend.
I actually have a funny little like branch off to that comment that you made that's quite funny that I didn't tell you before. There was a client of yours who came to the gym and she was doing a class and I can't remember the movement. It was a barbell movement she was doing, and anyway, there was like, I think it was a front squat, and I gave her a cue. She's like, Aaron always says that to me. That was so funny, and I was like, and then I clocked who she was, and I'd seen her like on your story that you posted before, and it was just so funny. I was like, she's like, yeah, I remember it now, and that was just like the tiniest little cue. I think it was, instead of thinking about driving her elbow up from her front squat, like drive her shoulder straight up into the bar.
Yeah.
Because she was getting a little like drop every time there. And I was like, maybe just try and flip the intent from the end of that lever with your elbow to the, and then she was like, yeah, he gave me that one before. I can't remember her name now. She's like a dietitian, I think.
Danae, I think it would.
Danae might have been, yeah. But yeah, I forgot to tell you, but it was funny.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, movement assessments. And we could go on for ages with that, couldn't we?
That's not to like just like talk shit on them the whole time. Like we both use them, I think.
Yeah.
I know I use them. But it's just about not over emphasizing the importance of them and it becoming a KPI within itself to be better at your movement assessment.
Yeah, it's like collect that data you do need and work with it.
Yeah, it's just to give a really small insight as to like tick, tick, tick. It also helps to see like how responsive like a new client coming on board is as well. It's interesting to see like the quality of everything coming through to show kind of how invested they are from minute one, and be a nice little tell for that as well.
Yeah, it's good. Continuing on with like the general population stuff, it's really not that difficult, is it? Like fundamental movement patterns, what do they need? I've got here squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, core, every aspect of that. Extension, flexion, lateral, rotation, locomotion, bit of running in there maybe.
And the funny thing is, you can build a really aesthetic physique based on those things, doing those well. Like really aesthetic. So what people would probably associate with like a really athletic physique as well. A lot of the time people are chasing that, I think, in like a gen pop scenario as well. But maybe they feel the need to go down the bodybuilding route, like the Monday chest, Tuesday back and buy sort of option, maybe slightly too much.
Yeah. Why do general population need all of that stuff, plus energy system work and whatever?
Well, for starters, like it's the biggest bang for your buck. If you train in these like multi-joint, multi-muscle group movements, you're getting such a bigger hormonal response from your body when it does come to recovering and repairing. You're going to be like building so much more total body strength, so much more, like a lot of the time more muscle. Maybe if you're not comparing it to like an actual like isolated movement, like where you're doing it in like a scientific like science-based approach, but in general when you're weighing up the
foam roller on your arm.
Exactly, yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking of. But yeah, bigger bang for your buck, but then also the relatability to life, and the challenges that you might be confronted with, which you will probably just brush off if you are fit, strong, and healthy through all of those movement patterns that we were talking about. A lot of the time that those are going to be easy for you to just brush off. If you do have an accident, you fall down, you need to carry something, you've got people that rely on you, you need to lift those, you've got kids, you've got elderly parents, you've got, the list goes on. All of those things are made so much easier by just being able to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, definitely. I think getting people to understand that's difficult sometimes as well. I come up against it a lot. The whole, I don't want to get bulky, I don't want to get big. The funniest ones is when you see, normally a female client will be like, I don't want to get big, like a big upper body or whatever. Fair enough, fine. And they'll refuse to go the slightest bit heavier in the gym, but then they'll walk outside and pick their kid up who's like 10 times heavier, and just lob them on their shoulder and walk. And I'm like, how can you not see how that could benefit that being easier for you every day?
Yeah.
And I always have loads of women who that I know have really young kids and then they're like have a real like disparity in terms of like what arm is stronger than the other.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, I don't understand why. And I'm like, what arm do you carry your kid in? And straight away there's a light bulb. They're like, oh yeah. And they're like, how did you know that? It's just like, and that just comes through experience of like coaching loads and loads of women.
Yeah.
Like over the years, and they'll sit with their hip to one side as they hold their baby, and then that will start affecting things as well. But then it's just making them aware of that as well. Maybe you should try and change like side to side or do some extra work on that side in the gym. Really like simple stuff that Gen Pop might not see themselves, but as a coach with your experience you see over time.
Yeah, we kind of get to, for whatever reason, Gen Pop get to this mindset where it's like, well, I'm not going to do 3 sets of head and shoulder press because it's gonna turn me into like a bodybuilder. It's like, yeah, a lot of people would wish that was the case, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Like training your body in like a well balanced way across your whole body really is going to be more beneficial for you than it is going to be turning you into Hulk where you're bursting through your blouse and you're gonna have to buy new clothes, etc.
I mean, every bloke would be doing 3 sets of 10 every day, wouldn't they? If not,
yeah, the people wouldn't be spending hours and hours in the gym chasing these vanity metrics if that was the case.
Yeah. Gen Pop also frequency. I think we're getting sucked into this like more is better quite a lot now, aren't we? Had a conversation with one guy last week, Sam, who was here on a retreat, and I was just asking him a little bit about his training, and I was like, how many days a week are you training? He was like 3 times a week. He's like 35, probably one of the strongest dudes in the gym at the minute. It just goes to show you, like, if you put the intent into those 3 days of training well, it's probably all you need to recover from.
Yeah, 220 front squat for clarity, just so people know.
Yeah.
Obviously training age probably contributes a bit to that as well. And it's like, would he have gotten to the point where he's at now without doing more? Probably not, but he's able to maintain and still push really, really impressive numbers as a result of doing a whole lot less now.
Yeah. Just tell people a little bit more about training age and what that means.
So essentially the amount of years that you've accumulated across your training career, if you like, when you get older, a lot of the time, like in Sam's case, you can do a bit less if you've done the work previously, and that might look like strength work to be accustomed to really heavy numbers from like a neurological standpoint, as well as like the hypertrophy to not only build like bigger muscles which are going to be able to deal with heavier loads, like a bigger cross-sectional area of your muscle, but also like an element of durability to keep you fit, strong, healthy, and injury-free while you are putting your body through hard and more demanding things. And an element of that is carried over from your previous training, so you can, like I say, rely on that to then do slightly less as you start to age.
Yeah, that's great. I think within the general population like spectrum, think of it as like like one of those lighting boards that has all the like the dials that go up and down.
Yeah.
There's obviously, like, we're talking about Sam there, he's obviously a very strong individual, but he's not an athlete, he is general population that does weightlifting, coaches weightlifting.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been an athlete in his past. Maybe I don't know loads about him. But his dial, so to speak, on like the intensity and the load would have been up at one point, and he would have dialed back probably other things within that. Whereas like there's that other spectrum of people that if they just want to hit all of those basic fundamental movement patterns, chase a little bit of strength and hypertrophy, their dials are going to be just turned up a little bit. But it's also like understanding how to do that as a coach, isn't it? And explain to that person what they need. And they would have come to you and told you what they want, but you can take what they want, but also give them what they need and meet them in the middle, can't you?
Yeah, and it's a good way for people to, people that aren't like inherently in love with the gym, I feel like there's still a demographic of those people which are maybe doing too much because they feel as though they need to be in the gym 6 days a week. And they're like, oh yeah, I've got to go to the gym today. Like, how could I not, sort of thing. It's like quite easily if you structured things slightly different and, like you said, push those levers up. With maybe it is intensity, maybe it is volume on certain days, maybe it's just movement selection on those certain days, or intent you're putting behind things. You can pull away from the frequency that you're in the gym, to maybe put that into your social life, into your into your business, in whatever you want to do,
or just resting.
Yeah, resting as well.
And I mean, that's something that I can probably talk on from a personal experience recently. Everyone knows about my eye issues. But I've been trying to do like 1 day on, 1 day off, just to regulate my inflammation and just stress from like overall training. Fuck, I feel so much better, because like the intent on the days where I am training has been like a lot, and then the next day I know like there's no like getting myself up for a session or whatever, just like fully recovering, sleeping better, and then going into that next session with good intent. So really I'm having like 1 or 2 extra days rest a week, but my body feels so much better. Like knee pain, my eyesight has actually been better since doing that, and just intertwined with a few of those other dials, bringing them down a little bit stress wise.
Yeah, cool. On the specifics of your sessions, I would imagine that you're probably in a place where you're using RPE a lot more as opposed to like percentage prescriptions.
Yeah.
Have you found that's allowed you to self-regulate a little bit?
Yeah,
better?
a lot better. And I think using RPE, a lot of people don't know how to use that properly. Do you want to talk a little bit on that?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, RPE is rate of perceived exertion, just a scale out of 10. Realistically, when we say like RPE 7, we mean 3 reps from failure. So that's another thing that people underestimate, is the intensity and the proximity to failure that you do actually need to be working at for things to be effective. But in this context, the reason why we bring it up is because obviously if you've had some inconsistency, health issues, and you're trying to manage that slightly better to get a better outcome, utilizing that perceived level of exertion, kind of clues in the name, you can that's going to be different on different days. And
I think that's the really big point on RPE, isn't it? Can be different from day to day.
Yeah, so it allows that self-regulation. But if you're on a percentage-based prescription, 70% on Monday is 70% on Monday, and you're going to potentially feel like, you could feel a whole load of different ways on a Monday, but if you don't hit your numbers, you might be really frustrated or whatever, but you go in, you hit your RPE 7 on the Monday, no matter how you feel, you've worked to sufficient intensity, and that might allow you to go away, come back to your next session with much more quality, much more intent or intensity when you do get round to that next session, because you haven't overworked in a state where it probably wasn't the best for you to do that. So it allows that self-regulation, and it's something that has been used a lot on my program, working with my coach recently, like coming from CrossFit background, programs which are very much reliant on percentage prescription. Moving away from that slightly, there's still elements of percentage prescription in the programming and stuff that I'm doing now, but it's actually surprised me how good I've been feeling for how long performing things with RPE, things which are really quite heavy still. If I was to be doing that with a percentage-based prescription, I'm not sure I'd be able to continue to accumulate the quality of training I have done for the same length of time. So whether it's down to that, it could be quite interesting one to look into a bit further.
I think it's really important that coaches are able to like articulate that to their client or their member, whatever it might be. And like you said, you use the word self-regulation, and the member has to have that self-awareness to say, if they're going into the gym, they're doing a Hyrox class, they're doing a CrossFit class, whatever it might be, and they're looking at the board, like we use percentage and RPE, so they've got the best of both. They know where they should be, but they know how it should feel as well. But to be able to look at the board and be like, maybe it's Wednesday, like Monday and Tuesday they've trained hard, they've hit their percentage, and then they're looking at the percentage on the Wednesday and the RPE next to it, and that RPE feels like a 9 at that percentage. That's what it might feel like on that day. They have to have that level of like self-regulation to be like, oh, then maybe I'll take a little bit of load off the bar, do what I need to, and then not be in that mindset that me and you have probably both been through. It's just like, don't be a bitch, just stick to the percentage.
Yeah.
Which is something I think you grow out of, don't you, as you start to age within your training.
Yeah, it's like finding that balance with having like an honest conversation with yourself as to, am I just being a bit lazy and I could hit it, and it's like, oh, I'm just a bit beaten up, like there's nothing wrong with me, or it's like I'm in a legitimate position where I need to be a bit more sensible here. Yeah. Like having that maturity to be able to decipher between the two mindsets.
Yeah.
But while we're on like percentage prescription, something that we've spoken about before just in passing is like relative intensity or percentage compared to like absolute percentage, and how that gets gets tuned up and spit out sometimes a lot in the programming that we come across. Like, for example, to be clear, like when we have a percentage, a lot of the time it's based off your 1 rep max. But if you're in week 1 of your cycle, you should not be performing 5 reps at what would be the equivalent of your 5 rep max, because that is still 100%. People seem to get that wrong so much. They don't know how to work back from that relative intensity.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. And like in the Wendler cycle as well, a lot of people just work straight off like 100% of their max instead of a training max, so to speak.
Yeah, people are like, I was seeing a bit light, so I just added 10 kg to it.
Yeah. It gets a bit lost, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, people don't understand like kind of that training max either, do they? Or just like relative percentages.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get your head around sometimes, because it can feel like you're working so sub-maximally. I remember the first time I was in like a CrossFit gym doing classes like way early on. Everything I'd been doing prior to that was pretty much RPE for rugby. And I remember being enlightened to relative intensity there, thinking, what? Like, why on earth would you be doing 5 reps at 67% to start with, or whatever it is, on week 1 when you could potentially be doing more? And that mindset travels through so many different parts of training for performance as well. But it's like, no, you need to build the base.
Yeah. The bigger the foundation, I guess. But it does get lost quite a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of the time with some programs as well, people are just chucking out random percentages in general. Like they've got no they've got no like knowledge from where that percentage should come from.
They just stick the rep scheme.
They're just like, what sounds right? Like, oh, okay, 80% sounds about right for that. Yeah, you could just work it out properly.
Yeah, I'll just put like 4 sets of 5 at 85%.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, good luck, mate.
Yeah, nice one. Do my max 5 times.
Yeah,
5 sets.
I saw a Hyrox workout yesterday. Someone posted, and it was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was like back squat at a certain percentage for 90 seconds. Just keep going for 90 seconds. Straight into overhead squats, straight into front squats, straight into it was like max thrusters in 2 minutes. I was just like, what on earth is going on?
And that was continuous.
Just continuous work. Never seen anything like it.
Perfect for Hyrox athletes, which are going to be doing it in running trainers as well.
Yeah. And Gen Pop that's been sitting down all day doing nothing.
Back squats, overhead squats.
So just to touch on a few points for Gen Pop that they might want to think about. Offsetting, sarcopenia, physical fragility, osteoporosis and bone fractures as you get older, cardiovascular diseases, metabolic diseases, neurodegenerative and cognitive decline as well, just to name a few to offset with your training. Obviously, we want to look at enhancing metabolic function, improved cardiovascular health, joint health, stronger bones, connective tissue. All the stuff that gets a bit lost, maintain muscle, build muscle strength. You don't have to become Ronnie Coleman overnight, but you should probably look after your body a little bit better, shouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like what we said at the start, although things can be pretty broad with that resistance training and the way that you do it, at the same time, you do have to be performing like sets and reps of something that probably feels somewhat repetitive. Like just thinking about like my dad as an example, someone that he's a joiner, he does very physical work all the time and like is strong physically from doing that, but still has no end of like joint issues and things, which if you listen to me and actually like was to get in the gym and perform some of the things that we know would really help. It's a completely different stimulus as something that's going to carry over that way, but it's not something that carries over the other way. So you can still be physical, still be active, but deteriorating, unfortunately, in a way which is really going to be complemented by training and training properly, as opposed to thinking that you're doing physical work, therefore you're physically robust.
Yeah,
not necessarily the same.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was on site, and you would be the same, I work with some dudes that are very strong, but they can't even get out of their chair without letting out the almighty groan.
Yeah.
Even one of my mates, Adam, back at home that I work with, he terrible rig, he's like hunched over like that, but
melted
he could
welly boot.
Yeah, he could lift a boiler up on one arm and just put it on the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, get him in the gym and he can't move or do anything.
Yeah.
And that just shows you the carryover to the gym would have probably a profound effect onto his day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, I think probably is maybe creeping into the trade world, that knowledge of how things can carry over. Just maybe it's just my algorithm, but I see it more coming from the Aussie demographic a little bit more. I think potentially as an entire population, probably a bit better at looking after themselves compared to the UK. But yeah, I see the tradies out there doing a whole lot more than what they are trading wise in the UK.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think the Aussies are just that way inclined a bit more, aren't they, in terms of fitness, getting outside.
Yeah, I think lifestyle complements it, but weather too. But generally, people are up and about, getting it done first thing in the morning, and then, you're almost weird if you're not doing that in Australia, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts you want to add to Gen Pop training?
I think, just kind of what we said before, really, just like buy into the staples of strength training. Like you'll probably surprise yourself, like we said, with something that I haven't mentioned is actually how satisfying you could potentially find it, making quite significant progress without too much time spent. But just being willing to learn a few of the fundamentals is going to take you a long way. Like we said, with aesthetics, you're probably going to surprise yourself that way as well. You're going to surprise yourself with the frequency. They're actually not going to have to train as much as you think, even if you're someone that's not entirely in love with the gym, which might be beneficial for you, and also find a method that grooves with your lifestyle and that you enjoy. Yeah, because it's going to take you quite far in the long run.
I think for anyone that's in that kind of position, like you said, that's like not fully in love with the gym, from my experience coaching at a previous gym, I'd have people come in for 3 45-minute sessions a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and completely change their whole life. Like 3 45-minute sessions a week. If you can commit to that, or look at their session structure, 2 compound movements to start off with. You go into like 2 primary movements in a superset, and then maybe a tricep to finish. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You look at compound movement, a secondary movement where there's a few less joints moving that complement those compound movements, and you look at some isolation work to finish. On the other session, that might look similar to that, and the other session, they might finish with some kind of energy system work at the end. They might sit on the bike, or they might do a run, bit of ski, bit of row. They do those same 3 sessions consistently for 6 to 12 weeks, because that is how you make progress. Add a little bit of load over time. You get stronger, you build more muscle, you become fitter, healthier. You probably feel way better throughout the week. That's not a lot of time that you've invested, but you're getting a huge amount of benefit out of it, and it really doesn't have to be so difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once they're ready, lace up the runners, get 90 seconds of max back squats into max overhead squats into max thrusters in, and then they'll be ready for their first.
And if
high
they're
run.
32, they can sign up for a half marathon.
Drink matches.
Okay, let's not go down that route. Okay, let's wrap things up there, I think. Thanks for joining once again.
Yeah, once again, another knowledge filled episode.
See you on the flip side.
Ciao.
Boosh.